Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hello, friends. You've found it. This is what we like to call the finest Bible bistro on the internet, Daily Dose Radio. Come on in, sit down. We've got some great Bible study for you today. We're looking at Psalm 22, verses 21 through 31 all this week. So we're going to finish out Psalm 22, which, as we've seen in the first two sections, has been all about the passion of Christ. And this week does not disappoint. We're still there in the passion of Christ. Notice that what we have in verses 21 and 22, we're still thinking about this prayer. He began a prayer back in verse 1. My God, why have you forsaken me? It's a question, but it's posed in the sense of a prayer because he's on the cross. Of course, this is Jesus. He's on the cross. He says this. He stamps this psalm as his own. Those words then inaugurate the rest of the psalm as his during that passion time. Now we have verse 21. Save me from the mouth of the lion. Who else is there that can save? Well, we've seen in previous studies and here just in this last cycle that we began back in March, that in the Psalms, there's no one else that can save but the Lord. There's no other hand that can save. There is no other thing that can save. Only the Lord saves. So save me from the mouth of the lion. And the lion we've seen also before, because we had that, where was that? Back in 13. Let me turn back there and look real quick. They open their mouth against me. The lions tear and roar. Well, the mouth of the lion is about ready no longer to roar and make a noise, but it looks like he's about to bite. And that's no good, is it? So the mouth of the lion, the danger is present. It's right there. What else would you pray in the midst of that kind of persecution? And from the horns of the wild oxen answer me. He's not asking that the prayer come from the horns of the wild oxen. He's asking that while he's on the horns of the wild oxen, that the Lord would answer. So save me, answer me. Two of the most common requests that we have in the book of the Psalms. And right here, we have it in the mouth of the Messiah who's suffering on the cross. Notice verse 22. I recount your name to my brethren. In the midst of the assembly, I will praise you. Now, what happened to his request? Remember, we began this psalm with that very thing, that even in the midst of great suffering, yet he says, you're holy. There in verse 3. Verses 1 and 2 were the request. I call out by day, by night you are silent to me. But then in verse 3 he says, but you're holy. You are holy who dwell among the praises of Israel. He goes back to that here in 22. I recount your name to my brethren, even though I haven't received an answer. I'm still waiting. Save me, answer me, has not been fulfilled yet. I recount your name to my brethren. So even in the midst of torment, in the midst of persecution, he is not giving up on his ability to praise. Now, that's really kind of the struggle for all of us, isn't it? We all end up with that same contention in our walk with Christ. And that contention is that while we're being persecuted, we're also praising him and ascribing holiness to him. Because even in the midst of our suffering, he is still holy. He is still praiseworthy. And so, even though the prayer, save me, answer me, has not been executed yet, still, he says, I'm going to praise you in the midst of the assembly. I will recount your name to my brethren. So there's no distrust, there's no distress, there's no diminishing of the greatness of the name of God in the mouth of Messiah. No, not at all. He says, this is who I am, this is who you are. I'm a man asking for an answer. You're a God who dwells in the heavens, separate from sinners, holy. And so my prayer comes to you. You do with it what you want. I'm going to recount your name to my brethren, and I will praise you in the midst of the assembly. I hope you'll join me tomorrow. We're going to look at 23 and 24 tomorrow from Psalm 22 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.